I'm back again today to do a science experiment with you. Yesterday, we learned the great big word predict. Do you remember what the word predict means? That's a big word. Right, it means to think about things we know and then make a guess. So we're going to predict halfway through this science experiment what might happen. This is a science experiment that we do in our classroom at the end of the year. It's called the elephant toothpaste science experiment. So some of you might remember it, and that's when you need to think back about what we know and make a guess. If it's new to you, that's fun too. So this is a science experiment that if you do at home, you definitely need an adult. So the first thing we're going to do is squirt some dish soap into a bottle. Then an adult is going to pour some hydrogen peroxide into the bottle. Then we're going to mix hot water and a package of yeast. We're going to put a little food coloring into the bottle, and then we're going to predict what happens when I put the yeast into the bottle. Are you ready to see? Me too. Let's get started. So I'm going to put our directions to this side. And the first thing it said to do was to squirt some dish soap into my bottle. So I'm going to just do a couple squirts. Oops. All right. And then I'm going to pour some hydrogen peroxide into my bottle. This is 6% hydrogen peroxide, so that's why an adult needs to pour it. So I'm going to use this. Do you know what this is called? It's called a funnel. Why do I use a funnel? Why can't I just pour this into here? Why would I use a funnel? What's a funnel for? It's tricky. So I use a funnel because it makes the hole bigger, so it's easier to pour it into the bottle, so it's not as likely to spill. So that's what the funnel is for. Okay, I'll use it again with the yeast. All right. I am slowly pouring the hydrogen peroxide, and I'll slowly pour it into the funnel, which will go into our bottle. Okay, now the next thing we have to do is we have to take, this is hot water, it's a half of a cup, I got it beforehand. And this is yeast. Do you know what yeast is in? What do people put yeast in? Yeast is an ingredient in bread. It helps it rise. Okay, so I'm going to put it in our hot water and I'm going to mix it up. It's going to dissolve. When something dissolves, it all mixes into the water, so you can't see it. So it might just take a couple minutes. It's sort of chunky, so we need to get it to dissolve. My water might not quite be warm enough. It's good to have nice hot water when you're dissolving yeast. So I'm going to keep mixing it up a little bit more. It's getting there. I'm going to let that sit and dissolve a little bit more while we put in the food coloring. It doesn't matter what color. Get a new phone. I switched the funnel so it would be new for the yeast. Okay, so I'll put a little bit of green and I'm going to put it on the side. I've not done that before, but I heard it's pretty cool, so let's give it a try. I put some green food coloring, and I'm going to put some blue food coloring on the sides of the bottle. I'll show you in a minute. Okay. So do you see how it has stripes of food coloring? Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And in here, do you remember what it was? Dish soap and hydrogen peroxide. Now is the time. The yeast is all mixed up and it's dissolved. So it's all mixed into the water. You can't pull it apart because it's dissolved. Okay, now is the time that you get to predict. I am going to put the funnel in here, and in a minute, I'm going to pour the yeast into the hydrogen peroxide. Now, what are we going to think about when we predict? Well, we might think about what happened last year, if you were in my room. Right, so what happened? That's something to think about. Another thing to think about is that I said that it helps the bread rise. That might be something to think about. So there's some things we know about yeast and that we know about last year. Are you ready to make a prediction? Super, what do you think is going to happen? Should we find out? Okay, here we go. Wow. Look at that. Isn't that cool? It filled up the whole container. Was that what you predicted? It was a little different than what I predicted. I didn't know there were going to be so many bubbles. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Science is really fun. It's fun to make predictions too. You might think about making predictions with mom and dad during the day. So you might predict in the morning what the weather's going to be like. Something you could know to help you is what time of the year it is. So if it's Christmas, you might predict it would be cold. But since it's spring and almost summer, you might predict something different. You might look outside and look in the sky and see if you see the sun, or if it's raining or cloudy. You might predict what the rest of the day's weather is going to be like. Talk to mom about it, or dad, or grandma. It's fun to make predictions and think. And I'm so glad that you came to spend some time with me today. I will see you again real soon. Bye.